This is Shannon Atchley from Atchley Photography, and you are listening to From Nothing to Profit.
Welcome to From Nothing to Profit, a photographer's podcast with Matt and Kaya, where each week they talk to photographers about what is working in their business now so you can swipe those ideas and grow your business faster.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. So I'm really excited. I have my friend Shannon Atchley on from Northern Alabama. And we have a really cool story where we met. I mean, it was, I guess, over a year ago now. We met at After Dark. And we've been fast friends ever since. And so we hung out at Sync this year. And next year we're speaking together at Sync. And in some aspects, I think like you're like my soulmate of a friend because you're hilarious and you always make my day brighter and make me laugh pretty hard. So thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome, Shannon. I'm excited to have you too.
Oh, you guys are both great. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit more. So Kai, this is how I met Shannon. So I went to After Dark and I was doing like this walkabout with Marcy and Christy, and Shannon was there, and I hadn't met her at all, but she was there, and I was talking to Marcy, and Marcy's like, yeah, like we're okay, but have you seen Shannon's work? And I was like, no, I don't know who Shannon is. So like, as we're walking around downtown in the middle of Wisconsin, I'm like looking at her Instagram and like dialed lighting, like I would say you're probably one of the better photographers, Shannon, I've ever seen at off camera lighting for sure.
No, well, thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that. Didn't realize you were looking me up at After Dark. So, but thank you. That's awesome.
I stalk you now.
Yeah. But I did not realize that. So that's really awesome because you're so good. You and Kaya. Is it Kaya? It's Kaya.
It is Kaya. Yes, it is Kaya. Thank you.
Okay. You guys are both great. So that is a huge compliment coming from you.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Okay. So let's just kind of jump into the questions and kind of go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So Shannon, we're going to start at the beginning here. And so can you share a little bit of like your expertise or what you feel like you're known for?
I feel like I think I am known for lighting. You mean in the photography world or with my business?
Yes.
In the photography world, I would say it's lighting. I actually teach lighting at the Modern Senior Imagine. I guess that's it. I've really never asked anybody, but like, that's the thing you noticed, Matt, when you looked at my work. So I would say that that's it.
And then what about like on your photography side, like with your clients, what do you think you're known for?
Well, senior portrait photography. I'm pretty much known for that in my area. I do still do everything. I am in such a small town. The high school across the road from my studio graduates like 60 to 70 kids a year. So, and I will say we have about 7 small schools around in the area that graduate the same number, but we just don't have any big schools. So I'm in such a small town that I'm really the only, which our town is not even incorporated. So when I say that I'm the only photography studio in town, that's not really saying a lot, but I really am. So I still do everything, even though I specialize in senior portrait photography.
Okay, so I have a question about that because I didn't realize your town was so small. Mm-hmm. We're too busy cutting jokes to know about that. So how do you stay like sharp and on top of it? Like, where's that internal motivation? Because if you're the only game in town, like it'd be really easy for you to get lazy and just not do much. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, it really all kind of started last year, and I had never been to really anything, any conferences. I'd been to nothing until I went to Sync last year because my kids were home. They were getting ready for college, and I knew that they wouldn't be there that much long. They would be headed to college soon. So I wouldn't go to anything. One time I wouldn't even go to imaging when it was in Nashville, which is about 2 hours for me. So when I went to Sync for the first time last year, it was like an entire new world just opened up for me. And, I realized that even though I had learned a lot on my own, I had learned through books and YouTube, there's something about learning when you're with other people, with your peers and at conferences. So I really think that motivates me to stay on top of things now because I realize just how incredible it is to be around your peers and learn from them and pick up things, which since I went to Sync last year, I went to lots of things since then. And I think that keeps me on top of things.
but you've been in business for like 13 years, so it's not like, you're not like the new game in town.
Oh, no. I've been in business 13 years, and really I look back on the stuff that I was doing 5, 7, 13 years ago, and I think the quality is the same as what I've been doing in the last year. It's just more fun. I guess that's what I should say. It's more fun when you're around your peers.
Yeah. So, 5, 7 years ago, all you were doing was collecting Denny backgrounds, right? That was your hobby.
Pretty much. Nah.
Kaya, she has like the complete catalog of Denny backgrounds.
Do you shoot for them then? How does that work?
Well, it's just, if they've ever needed anything, if they've ever needed a backdrop photograph, but I had bought so many from them, and, I would send them images of the ones. So no, I don't work for Denny's. I think they're a great company. They're my backdrop company. They're the only ones I buy backdrops from, but I don't work for them.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. I just assumed you did. I saw your stuff and I thought, well, they must just hire her to photograph their backgrounds.
No. Jordan is Denny's photographer, and he's great. But we're really good friends, and that is just such a great company. They are a family-owned company. The sisters, and Denny still works there. It's just a great family-owned company, and I just like them all so much that.
She bought 305 backgrounds from them, and they're like, we should call this Shannon lady and see what she's up to.
I do have a lot of backgrounds. I really do. Yeah.
So to clarify for our listeners, if you go to Shannon's Instagram or website, you will see a lot of backgrounds that you could have similar ones from Denny Manufacturing. So that's what we're talking about right there.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So Shannon, this is one of my questions for you though is, you said you had never been to any conferences or things like that until your kids were kind of out of the house. Why is that? Did you just like to stay home with them, or were you just too busy?
Well, I was always busy. My business I've been busy for years. I know that sounds crazy, but there was that. I didn't want to miss anything that they were doing. I didn't want to miss anything at school. They were always involved in sports, always involved in so many things. It felt like there was no time for that. So once they went off to college, now I have tons of free time. So, well, I wouldn't say no, I'm still busy. I don't have tons of free time, but I do travel more.
Yeah. You're not worried about missing anything. You can make your plans only on your schedule, really. You don't have to worry about theirs.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so our next question is, what do you feel like, one of the things you've said is you are busy, and you've been busy all along. So it doesn't sound like you've come up against like a time where you've worried about getting business. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. So what do you feel like is the thing that works for you, or what do you feel like is really working now for you in your business?
I feel like that being in a small town, word of mouth is the most important thing that I have going for me. And it really is. I feel like if you are just good to people and you exceed their expectations and you're good to them and you take care of them. And that's why I say I love shooting senior portraits, and that is mainly what I do. But if somebody needs something else, I'm going to do that too. It may not be my favorite thing to do, but because it's almost like a small town doctor, you kind of have to take care of everything. And I do that. And because I do that, I just feel like the word of mouth and the good customer service is why I'm so busy. And the model program has really kept me busy too. I mean, it keeps the model program. I have so many models, and of course they are clients. So just right off the bat, if I have 25, 30 models, that's 25 or 30 seniors that I'll shoot that year.
Yeah. So do you photograph weddings then?
I do not. There is one on my website, or on my Facebook page, not on my website, just because it was a friend that her daughter grew up with my boys, and it was just a really, really small wedding. But no, I would never shoot I have no desire. I won't say never, but I have no desire to shoot weddings.
Yeah. So you do say no to that.
I do say no to that. Yes.
Weddings are the one.
That is the only thing I really say no to. I'll do engagement sessions, but I will say no to weddings.
So I have a question. So you're saying word of mouth and exceeding expectations is the secret to your business. So I think, tell me if I'm right or wrong, and if you even think about this, but part of exceeding expectations is like setting expectations from the beginning, right? Because like, I'll give you an example. I'm not going to go too far down on this tangent, Kaya, but like I have my house, I'm getting some repair work done in my house. I have this giant hole in my living room for my roof. It's a mess. And at first it was okay, but now like the contractor is like, yeah, I'll text you guys on Monday, and then it'll be like 4:00 on Monday. We still haven't heard from him. So then it's like he set an expectation and then didn't meet it. And so then it doesn't feel like very good service, even if in the end result it's the same. So do you think about how you set expectations for people to exceed them, or do you just naturally kind of do it, or what goes through your head with that?
I actually think I just naturally do it because I'm very worried about, I always want to make sure my customer service is good. So I don't really set, of course I tell them what to expect, but I pretty much try to, live up to those expectations. And then I try to go above with everything.
Yeah. That makes sense. So it's like no matter what you tell them, you're like, okay, I told them I'm going to do this. And now what's the little bit of extra I could go on it?
Well, yes. And if say I told somebody I would have their gallery up on a certain day, and for some reason I didn't, then I usually will message them. I'll be apologizing and, explaining, or I don't know. I always try to make things right if I slip up. So and I do. I think that's just good customer service.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, very good. Okay. So now that you've really gotten involved in kind of the bigger photography world, what is the one thing that you're most fired up about in the industry today?
Well, technical things I'm so fired up about are, of course, the high-speed sync flashes, mirrorless camera, all that. But really what I'm fired up about the industry is all of the educational opportunities that are out there, all of the people that are just willing to help you, pretty much the people. I'm fired up about the people and how good people are in our industry. Do you guys not think that it's just so incredible when you go to any of these conferences or anything like that? People are just so willing to help you all the time. If you need anything or education, or they're always willing to just reach out, and they want you to succeed. I feel like that everybody I've run into is trying. They really seem to be invested in your success. Does that make sense?
But yeah, that's great.
And here's another way I think about it too. And this just came to me the other day. Like sometimes you meet like a salty photographer, that's just like grumpy or burnout or whatever it is. And I think they stick out like a sore thumb, not because they're more grumpy than anybody else in the world, but because our industry is so good and so willing to help that they're in a sharp contrast to the average person in the industry. You know what I mean? So when someone is burnout or not willing to help or jaded, like you're like, that's not normal, because the normal in our industry is like, how can I help you? What can I show you? Who can I connect you with so that, you have the thing that you need to improve your business this week kind of thing, because that's the norm.
That is exactly right. And exactly how I feel. Just if you give people the chance, I feel like a lot of people don't really give people the chance to help them. If you're standoffish and if you don't really get in there and interact with people, of course, people are not usually going to go out of their way to just track you down. But if you're just trying just a little bit, the people that will help you, it's amazing to me. And I never realized it until I started going to things. And, even though I was successful in my business was good before I ever went to anything, I've already just in the past year, I have changed so much, and it's just so much better. And it's better because I've had so many people that are just out there willing to help me.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. So like when I met you at After Dark, you're hanging out with all the fancy people, and that's true. Like at Sync and stuff too. And did you just approach those people and just say like, hey, I'm Shannon, and like, just talk to them? Like, how did you become fast friends with so many people?
Well, Marcy and Christy know everybody. And I was friends with them. We met actually years ago on a photography forum. So even though I didn't go, out of my little comfort or out of my little studio area, I knew people online. There was so many photography groups. It was back when Pro Forum. The one I was on was I Love Photography. Y'all probably don't. I don't know. Do y'all remember that one?
No, I don't.
Okay.
ILP.
Yes, ILP. Well,
was True Mal? Did she come up out of that one?
I don't think she did. She
did. Okay, it was a different one for her.
Well,
okay.
There were so many at the time, but I Love Photography was like my main one. And I was really a frequent poster, so when you would do the forums, you had your people that posted a lot. So I was a pretty good poster. And so I knew a lot of people. I knew Marcy from there. Actually, we still have connections through that group. There are so many ways that you can have connections in the industry, even if you never go anywhere. And because with online now, I mean, you can think you can know so many people without actually ever meeting them personally. So but I had met Marcy in person, Marcy and Christy, and our little group from that I had met. And the reason we went to, she was speaking at Sync last year, and it was we all went to support Marcy at Sync because it was that was her first big stage presentation. So even though I didn't know people, I kind of did know people, if that makes sense. That
makes sense for sure.
But there's so many.
Okay, because I just wondered because I like I said, we've only been friends for like a year or so, and it seems like you kind of know everybody. But I think some of it is just your personality. Like you're so much fun to be around, but then also that makes sense, kind of how it all evolved for sure.
Well, and even Jordan from Denny's, I didn't know Jordan. I did not know Jordan. Like Jordan and I are great friends, but I did not know him until Sync last year. I mean, I had went one year, the trade show was at Nashville, and 1 year in Atlanta. And I was so excited because my stuff was going to be in the Denny's booth. So I actually drove out just for the trade show. So I had met him at the trade show booth. It was either in Atlanta or Nashville, but I just kind of basically spoke to the Denny's people, and that was it. But I really met him. It was the 2018 scene was the first time I'd met him. So yeah, that was really, I made you can make so many friends at these things and so many connections. So most of my new friends came from Sync.
Yeah. Well, and Sync's amazing in that fact that there's not this like divide between like the speakers and the attendees. You know what I mean? Like there's not that fake wall up at all.
Absolutely.
Like it feels like you can just walk up and say, hey, you're going to lunch, and just join people at lunch and hang out. And it's so cool.
Absolutely. So. And if you walk around those trade shows, I know this past year, I kind of worked the Denny's booth, and then Dan Rowe and Gary Box were working a booth right beside me, and we were just shooting together. And anybody that came up, it's like the education there was just like, if anybody had wanted to, they could have just hung out there the whole time and just learned so much about lighting. I did, even though I've been shooting studio lighting for years and I'm really comfortable with it, you can always pick up something from somebody else. Whether it's, I've always said, you can learn something from anybody, whether it's a pose, a lighting style, a lighting pattern, or not even a pattern, but just some kind of little lighting trick that they do. It's great to just be around those people, and they're so willing to help you all the time. So a lot of making friends, I was just like hanging out at these booths and being like, sucking up all the information I could.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well,
okay, cool.
I think part of Shannon's part of your ability to make friends is also your accent.
It's probably not coming over so well right now, but
oh, it's fantastic. Awesome. I think it's a great juxtaposition though, because your accent is so sweet and your personality is so sweet, but you're obviously super sharp to be able to pick up on all of the technical things that you need to be able to do the lighting and that type of thing that you do. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's take a break real quick. And when we come back, we'll do the lightning round, and then you can give us some parting guidance, Shannon.
Awesome.
So be right back.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You look at your calendar and notice you need clients now. So you do a little marketing and get some phone calls. You get busy helping those new clients. They schedule sessions, they place orders, and life is good. But once they're done, your calendar is empty again. The reason is you didn't have time to market while you were busy. Sometimes your business feels like a roller coaster. And let me tell you something, it is. And believe me, you're not alone. Photographers everywhere have the same problem. But I have some great news. Matt's business, Allison Ragsdale Photography, after years of trial and error, has cracked the code. It works so well, he's created a new class all about it. It's called Get Clients Now, a dead, simple approach to getting photography clients. Everyone at From Nothing to Profit is excited to share this info with you because this system helped Matt and Allison book hundreds of clients this year at their studio. And the best part about this system is that it's simple to set up and it works while you're sleeping. No hard selling or creepy marketing. All you have to do is help your clients answer their most pressing questions. Clients love the system and say it is the #1 reason they book with Matt and Allison. If you're interested in learning more about this system, go to photopodcast.co/simple. Matt has created a short, free video that introduces this system. If you like what you hear, podcaster listeners get an exclusive discount on the full class. So make sure you go to photopodcast.co/simple and sign up for the free video. It will help you book more clients now and create the business you've always wanted.
Okay, welcome back. We are so excited to have you all here. We are interviewing Shannon Atchley, senior photographer from, where are you from again, Shannon?
Bryant, Alabama. I'm in the extreme northeast corner of Alabama.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was going to say Alabama, and then I thought, oh no, I always second guess myself with these. So,
well, because me too, because I think when I think of Alabama, I think of like coastal Alabama, and so you always talk about like Nashville and stuff being so close. So then I always want to say you're from Tennessee, but you're actually still in Alabama.
Oh yeah,
so.
And I'm even on the Eastern time zone because we're a mile from the Tennessee line and a mile from the Georgia line. I'm like right in the tri-state little area.
Okay.
So, Shannon, we want to know, you've been a photographer, you've had your business for 13 years. And so before that, did you want to be a photographer? What was holding you back from becoming full-time?
Probably, I don't know what was holding me back. I was a nurse before that. So I was working part-time as a nurse. And then I kind of just slowly started doing photography on the side. Well, then it immediately got pretty busy. Within like the first year, I pretty much got so busy that I quit my nursing job, but I was only working part-time. It wasn't a full-time job at the time. So I really didn't have anything holding me back. When I decided to do it, I did it.
Yeah. Well, and that's so interesting. Like when I think about people getting burned out from their jobs, it's like nurses, teachers, and then photographers, you know what I mean? So did you feel burned out when you were doing nursing or not really?
No, not really. I really had a good job, but I just, I loved photography. It was going really well for me. So I did enjoy the nursing job too. I never really had a major conflict with it, but it was just, I was so busy with photography. I just didn't have time to do it.
Okay. So yeah. So like the photography thing kind of grew and took over.
Yeah. It kind of grew. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I got a couple questions for you. Around money. So the first one is like, if I gave you $1,000 right now, what would you buy that was like photo related, or what would you tell our audience to buy that's photo related?
Well, the thing I would save the $1,000 because I really want the Sigma Art 105 lens. But since I only have $1,000, I would invest it in education. I would invest it in a conference. I would invest it in, and actually I would probably invest it. There are just so many. There's, U-Box, Imagine. There's so many and so much education there that even I'm a really good shooter. I'm really comfortable with natural light, but I really could use some sales education. So I would probably invest that money in really getting my sales up there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, we just did a fantastic interview. So listen to the interview with Chris Scott, and he has some great stuff.
Awesome.
You'll like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you would buy the 105 art lens that you've been staring at.
Oh, yes.
But it's too much for $1,000. So then you do education. And then you would buy like 3 more backgrounds secretly, right?
Probably, because this is what I always say. Even though I really want that Sigma Art, I'm not even joking. People don't notice your lens when you change a lens. If you've got all the focal lengths you need, you're good. They're not going to notice if I'm shooting with an 85 or a 105. But if I get a new backdrop, people will notice that. And they will notice I've got my eye on that. There's an egg chair from Target. It's like $400. Actually, I'd probably spend that $1,000 on new background props and that egg chair from Target. So... But people will notice that. They will notice if I put that egg chair in my studio.
All right. That's funny. True, but funny. Okay. But now I give you $1,000 as well. So what would you not buy in the industry with it? Or what would you tell people not to spend that $1,000 on?
Well, this is just me personally, because I'm not interested in my website design and logos. I just don't put a lot of effort in that stuff. I'm more worried about shooting and equipment than I am about that. So my website is a Squarespace. I think it's not that much every year. And I know that people will invest a lot of money in that, but that's just one of those things I personally wouldn't. Not saying there's anything right or wrong with it, because, it's whatever you like. But I would not spend the $1,000 on a new website because I'd be like, well, my Squarespace is fine. My clients can't tell the difference. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because as long as your website and stuff is over like a certain bar, then it's fine.
Right.
You can notice a really bad website, but like as long as your website is decent,
right?
Not that many people are going to tell.
And there's a lot of pretty inexpensive options now, and they're just so user friendly that even I'm not that technical with all the website design and all that, but even I can figure them out. They're so easy.
Yeah.
Well,
awesome.
And your Instagram is really, really what's important for your seniors, I feel like, and you definitely pay good attention to that.
I agree. And I do focus on the Instagram a lot. I'm not one of those people that thinks you have to have certain colors and your scheme has to be just all perfect, but I'm pretty picky about what I actually post on it.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. For sure.
Well, and I think you have people focus on scheme and color and all that stuff because they're trying to create consistency. Mm-hmm. I think your work is so consistent that it just naturally happens when you just post your work.
Well, thank you. And I do feel like that. I still shoot natural light a lot too. So I shoot natural light, off camera flash, studio. And I do think that I guess my editing style is so consistent that I can pull all those images together and they do still flow well together. And when I do an album, I pretty much have a little bit of everything in it and the album will still flow really nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and we're just real quick. So we're talking about your Instagram. So it's Atchley Photography, ATCHLEY Photography is what you're on Instagram,
yes,
right?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Actually,
and then
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, and then what do you use for editing?
Photoshop. I still use Photoshop. I pull the images. I'm still using Adobe Camera Raw to pull the images in, convert them to JPEG, and then I just edit in Photoshop.
Okay, that's interesting. It's always fun, because you have like you said, you have a very consistent color, mm-hmm. very consistent, contrast and depth to your images. And so, it's always, because a lot of people that I know that have that kind of color use Capture One. I
don't, but I have a program that I've been using for years. It's a plugin and it's called Pictocolor. And I swear by this program. I really love this program. It's like a plugin like Portraiture or Topaz, anything, and it's the same as that, but you pull it in, you pull your picture in, and it has these little bars for your skin tones and your black levels and your white levels. And most of the time, I never use the white levels, but the black level, I just feel like that is a big thing with my color is that I use Pictocolor. But I think it's kind of I don't even know if it's still a popular plugin, but I personally love it. So,
what is it called?
Pictocolor. Pictocolor.
Because I think what I like about your images so much is that you I don't know, you have a lot of contrast, but you don't clip your blacks. So you have true blacks in your image, but they're not clipped. You know what I mean? So you have a picture of a girl with dark hair or whatever. You're not losing a lot of detail in here. You still see all the highlights and stuff in her hair, where a lot of times people will just clip it and it would just become kind of this dark blob, and you do a really good job of maintaining the detail in the shadows, which is really, really pretty.
Well, thank you. I actually check that. I check it on my images to make sure that I'm not clipping the shadows too much, or that I'm not overexposing the highlights. So
yeah, and it shows big time.
Thank you.
So
okay, so let's go on to our next question. So what is the best advice you've ever received?
Well, it's not really advice that I have gotten from a person, but I've just read this so many times and I think it is so true. But it's, if you are the smartest person in the room, you need to find another room. So when I go anywhere, I'm always looking for somebody smarter than me, always somebody that's better than me, because I want to I want to be kind of a sponge to that person. I always want to be learning and being educated by somebody that knows more than I do. So that is just something that has always stuck in my head through, I may have read it. I don't know where I've read it, but I guess that's the advice that I have for people is, or that has affected me the most. So I'm always looking for somebody that's better than me. So if you're at a conference and I'm hanging with you, it's probably because I think you're better than me and I want to learn what you're doing. So that's it.
Yeah.
Very good.
Awesome.
Yeah, it also explains why she's hanging out with who she's hanging out with, Matt.
Exactly.
That's why I was hanging out with you, Matt. And Kyle, I was hanging out with you at St. too one time.
Yeah. No, hey, next year's our year, Shannon, at Sync.
Exactly.
We're
I'm
gonna
so
just dominate
excited about
thing.
that.
So I'm going to take a total tangent. Sorry, Kaya, but
Okay.
every year Sync does these competitions where like they do like Instagram awards and they call them like Instagrammies. And Shannon, I feel like this is the year that we can take down all those guys that win every year with their silly posts. I feel like this is the year you and I could win.
I agree. I think that we just need.
We could win an Instagrammy.
We are going to win an Instagrammy next year.
There you go.
We're going to do it. I don't know. They're pretty good though. We're going to have to really pull deep to win that one because they're good.
Yeah, but we need to talk and like start planning it now because
yes,
I don't remember what the theme of Sync this year is. It's like new road or a better different way to get somewhere. Yeah, different way. And I feel like we could do like a funny video like showing us how we got to Sync or something like that.
That'd be good.
Oh, now you're putting it on the podcast, Matt. So
now you're going to have to make it happen. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking I could just film Shannon hitchhiking across Alabama is what I could do. So.
All right,
Kaya, go ahead. Bring us back on task, Kaya.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so Shannon, share one of your personal habits that you think contributes to your success.
Oh, I get up at like 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern time every day. And pretty much I work in the mornings before anybody else is up and I get things done. And I'm always like, and I also, I get on the treadmill every day and I plug in YouTube videos of lighting and just educational things. And so I'm constantly just trying to learn while I'm, there's always something to learn, but I'm doing that. I exercise on the treadmill, watching those YouTube videos, but also working. So pretty much my day, by the time 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock comes around, I'm pretty much good for the day. Because if I don't get it done before lunchtime, it's probably not going to happen. So it's those early morning habits for me that make me do better.
Wow. So we've talked to a lot of people that do that. So what do you do the rest of the day then?
Well, I still work, but then you're getting distracted. You're getting phone calls. You've got chats going. I mean, it's just so much more peaceful at 5 o'clock in the morning before everybody wakes up.
Yeah.
So, I'm still working, but just not as productive.
Yeah. And then do you go to bed early then?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you just not? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I'm an early bird too. So I'm like 9 o'clock, I'm out. And you pretty much, I'm pretty useless after 9 o'clock. So definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then the next question is, what is an internet resource that you would recommend to people?
YouTube. I love YouTube. You can find, if I have any photography related or just life related, anything you want to learn, you can pretty much learn on YouTube. So I'm always getting on there. If there's some kind of lighting thing I'm not sure about or just anything at all, I just type it into YouTube and there it comes. Even just editing tips, tips to get your skies blue or anything like that you can find on YouTube. So YouTube is like my go-to.
That's your thing.
Yeah, I love it.
That's fantastic. And then are you a reader?
Actually, yes. Not as consistently as I used to be, but I am.
And the reason I ask is because some people we've asked this, like recommend a book and they go, oh, I don't really read. So then I feel bad. So I wanted to ask it that way first. So what would you recommend? Do you have any books that you recommend to people?
I do. And, when I say that I didn't go anywhere or, and do learn, education that way for the first 13 years, I would read constantly. And I don't know if they still do them, but was Amherst used to have books all the time. And pretty much you could learn anything. There's a Christopher Gray lighting book. I mean, it's still so full of information. But those Amherst books, I seriously would have bookcases full of them. They're all just great. And did you ask me what I'm reading now that I would recommend?
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got sidetracked with my love of those Amherst books, Because they're great. Yeah. There was so much education packed in those books. If people would just take the time to actually read them, it's still relevant. But right now I'm reading the Lindsay Adler posing book. It's great. There's another one. I don't know. I've got a bookshelf full of books. I do read a lot. Just, educational photography books, things like that.
Yeah. That's fun. Okay. And then Matt, do you want to finish up with our questions?
Yeah. So Shannon, give two things. So give our audience some parting guidance that just, whatever you would tell them to do, look out for, whatever. And then just share also how they can connect with you.
Okay. Parting guidance. I still am such a firm believer on, hanging out or learning from the people that when you go to things, don't be shy. Go up and especially when they're doing those demos at the trade shows, they want you to come up to them. They want you to come up to them. They want to explain things to you. And there is so much education there that people don't participate in. I worked the booths for 2 days or the whole time that we were at Sync, and you would be surprised at how many people just go around to the trade show and don't really, I don't know, I think sometimes people are a little shy. Maybe they don't want to go up to these people because it is some of the, what did you call them? The fancy people? Not me, but some of the ones that are there, they are very well known in the industry and they are a little intimidating. But if you'll just talk to them, they are awesome and they just want to help you. So don't be afraid to go up to these people and just ask them questions. There is no dumb question, because if there has been a dumb question, I promise I have asked it. So there is nothing, nobody ever makes you feel like a question is stupid. I have never been around anybody that really, even the top of the industry, they do not make you feel stupid. So don't be afraid to just go up to people and learn. And most people are so proud. They love to share their knowledge. So don't.
Yeah, because they worked really hard, we're exactly where you were at some point. And so they've seen it now on the other side and they want to bring you up. And so they're all for sharing.
They are all for your success. They really are. And like you said, the exception, there are a few people in industry that are an exception, but for the most part, people want you to succeed. And they love photography so much that they really want to share what they know. They're not being arrogant either. They just love it and they want to share what they love.
Okay. So how can people connect with you? So share your website, share your Instagram again. Where are you teaching in this next year? All that stuff.
Okay. My website is www.atchleyphotography.com. Facebook, Atchley Photography, and Instagram is Atchley Photography. I am going to be teaching at Modern Senior Imagine in June and October, and I will be at Sync next year in the spring. And I mentor a lot, and people usually just message me on Facebook or email me for that, and we set that up on an individual basis.
Okay, cool. So they can just reach out to you on Instagram or Facebook or something like that?
Oh, absolutely. Uh-huh.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. This was awesome. I've been looking forward to your recording your show for a while now, so thanks so much.
Well, thank you for having me. It was great. This is my first podcast, so I really didn't know what to expect, but you guys just made it so easy that nothing... It's so simple.
It's just a conversation. It's no different than talking on the phone to us.
Oh, absolutely. And you guys are so great at moving the conversation along.
Well, Kai and I try. We weren't always good, huh, Kai? We used to stumble over each other a lot.
I'm sure we can get better too. Shannon, thank you so much for being on here. We really appreciate it. And go back and enjoy the rest of your vacation at the beach.
Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to From Nothing to Profit, a photographer's podcast with Matt and Kaya. Be sure to subscribe for more business strategy and ideas to help you create the profitable and successful business you've always wanted. See you on the next episode of From Nothing to Profit.